Are we recording?
You have the button.
I pressed the button, Tom. I am asking if it is recording on your end to make sure it's
It sounded
working.
more rhetorical. Yes, I am recording.
Quite sassy
Good.
tonight,
Good,
Josh,
Ben.
aren't you?
He is. He's got his sassy pants on.
I know.
I don't know. Like I feel like I'm in a normal mood. Am I not normally?
No,
am I not
I
normally like this?
I was going to say, like, if you didn't calm down, I'd be like, "Geez, wind your neck in, Josh. Come on, be
Right,
professional."
well, I'll bear it in mind. I'll bear it in mind. Hello and welcome to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. You are joined by your usual hosts here, Ben Porter,
Hello.
Tom Mannering,
Hi.
and myself, Josh Hartley. How are we doing? And based on feedback from previous episodes, I am directing this at Ben first of all. So to be clear, I am asking Ben how he is doing first, and
Okay.
then we'll move on to Tom.
I was
that
ready.
better?
I was ready to rip into you. I was waiting. I was poised.
Sorry, Tom. I think Josh said I was supposed to speak there.
Yeah, you're not allowed to speak.
Yeah.
now.
Apologies.
Yeah, until,
Yeah. We have these rules for a reason. All right.
So, sorry, Ben, before you were rudely interrupted there.
Yeah, I'm good. I've just been. Obviously, the Scotland were still in full lockdown, so I've just been working away and looking after a toddler. That's pretty much been my week.
Painting tanks this week.
Yeah, painting tanks. I painted a fishman in between that though. He was quite well received.
Oh,
yeah. Little.
So this is for we're gonna give this game a go soon. Carnival.
Yeah, Carnival.
Is he part of the starter?
Yeah,
set,
he
or
is. He is. So it's the
Yeah.
there's you've got Rashar, which are like they're basically like the Church of Dagon sort of Lovecraft faction, and then you've got the Guild, which are totally not Assassin's Creed assassins.
Cool, good stuff. Yeah, we'll give that. We'll have a crack at that at some point soon. Tom, how have you been this week?
I'm alright. Yeah, I've been pretty RP centric since the last episode, running games and prepping games and all that jazz, doing my GM duties and keeping busy.
Yeah, how was the? You've got 2 Pathfinder campaigns on the go at the moment, but one is starting to come to a close. Is that right?
Yeah, Age's End is on its last sort of chapter, I suppose, would be the best way to put it. It's going slowly because it's high level Pathfinder. So it's pretty much like if there's a combat, that is the session. That one combat will take up the majority of the session.
You said to me before there's quite a lot of number crunching in Pathfinder Endgame.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think they're about level 14 now with a couple of ranks of Mythic, which is my own sort of cross that I put on my back. It's got a lot of extra numbers added onto it, but it's going well.
Good stuff.
How are you, Josh?
Thank you.
No one cares, right? Next.
Moving on.
Hello, dear listener, and welcome back to the Slagging Josh Hour, wherein Ben and Tom ruthlessly slag me for the next hour. Ben, Tom, no, gotta direct this, haven't I? Gotta direct this. Someone, Tom, how do you plan on slagging me for the next hour?
I find like a slow burn is the way to do it. It's kind of like how you do a workout. You want to just keep a steady pace with like little spikes in there.
But this is where me and Tom have a good synergy because, like, I'll just come in like full force. So, like, while you're distracted by like, is Tom going to make fun of him here? I'll just come in with like, a sucker punch.
That's it. while I'm just working on the body, just the slow, gentle punches just to keep you
Steel
busy.
shit at the back of the head.
Boom.
Yeah.
Life's good. News. Let's do the news this week. What are we going to start with? We've got a new miniature revealed for Warhammer Cursed City.
Yep.
Ben, do you wanna tell us about this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Cursed City, for anyone that doesn't know, it's an upcoming Warhammer Quest board game. So they've done a few of these now. Well, I mean, like, if you want to, get into the whole history of it, Warhammer Quest's a pretty old thing. But recently, you've had the Silver Tower. Then they did Shadows over Hammerhal, which was a weird one because you needed to have a GM. And then you had Blackstone Fortress, which was set in 40k. And now we've got Cursed City, which is like full-on gothic horror, vampires galore, and of course we're going back to the world of the Age of Sigmar. So they've revealed a new player character, and her name is, where is it? Just you see a bunch of elven words and you just think, right, I don't know what's a place name, what's a spell, and what's an actual person's name. So Qualathis. Well, it starts with a Q, so
apologies to any elves that might be listening and we're pronouncing that wrong.
Yeah. Actually, no, we're not apologising to the elves. Forget those people.
Oh well, I've stirred up this again.
Yeah.
Whew.
Couple of jokes later,
political.
And it's a new war of the beard. Like,
but yeah, so she.
But no, she does look awesome.
She's like, I think we said this before about Cursed City, that it's nice that they're bringing back traditional undead and traditional vampires and veering away from this need to make everything totally unique to Games Workshop games.
Yeah, for sure.
And like she's like an old school wood elf, which is nice to see again.
I can imagine it's been a real nice palette cleanser for a lot of the designers that are working on this project, because Age of Sigmar has a very it's got a very unique sort of aesthetic to a lot of it, right? It doesn't quite look like most fantasy. So I imagine a lot of the guys who've been working on this are quite just enjoying doing I get to do normal skeleton warriors. Hey.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, like, you say normal skeleton warriors, but everything we've seen from this game so far looks amazing.
Sorry, yes, I don't know what the right word would be, but standard.
Just put some poor GW sculptor listening to the Unlucky Frog, just single tear.
Yeah.
As Josh just they're not just normal skeleton warriors. I spent weeks.
Well, they look really good. Are you making me feel
It's just
guilty
like,
now?
what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Josh, I thought you'd see it of all people.
Mr. Sculptor or Mrs. Sculptor, I'm really sorry. I didn't they look great. They look great. Back to sensible discussion. With the pace of reveals for this, when do we reckon this? Do we reckon this is going to be their summer release?
I think it might be sooner.
It's got to be right.
I think we might be looking at
Really?
like spring. Yeah. Because they say that if it goes up in a preview, it's usually about 3 months away from release, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I think you'll be looking at late spring, early summer. Be my bet.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll give you more news on that as it comes out, and just the other bit of GW related news this week. The Hedonites of Slaanesh and the Daughters of Kaine go up for pre-release this weekend.
Yeah, so it's basically sexual deviance and sexual deviance. Just
it's a sex party.
Slightly different flavours of them.
Yeah. The endless spells for the Daughters of Kaine look really cool.
Do you know it strikes me as a bit I don't know whether it's funny or ironic or what, but that their pre-orders for this weekend, which is Valentine's Day, are the Slaanesh miniatures. Like that. Is that intentional? Like, if it is,
they've confirmed that a lot of these orders, a lot of the releases that they're doing right now were intended to come out sooner. So I don't think it was intended, but it was fated to be, right?
It's like, hey, honey, I'd like this person strung up on a flesh harp as my romantic Valentine's Day.
Nothing says I love you like a flayed person used as a musical instrument.
Wearing stockings. They're always wearing stockings as well.
Hey, mate, if you're going to do that, you got to commit. You don't half-arse that. That's an all-in situation.
That's it. What do you think of the new Slaanesh models?
I really like them, actually. I think they're not a faction I would be comfortable owning, if I'm honest. But I do think they are really nice models. It's just like, you imagine like you bring someone back to the house and like, here's all my models, you show them your beautiful, Space Marines or your fantasy figures, and then it's like, and there's the sexual deviants miniatures that I've been working on, and they're just like, what?
I mean, I think they look really great. It's not a faction that I would collect, but this makes me excited for the possibilities of what they could potentially do for. I'm just
imagining Tom bringing his date, back to the house, and like, she looks through the Warhammer collection, and it's like, she sees the armored, Slaanesh dudes, like, oh yeah, they're kind of goofy. And then she sees like the archer hose that they've just come out with, and like, oh okay, but weird. And then she gets to the goat men in stockings with crab claws.
I'll get my coat.
Yeah. I'm out. This is too much for me.
Texts a friend immediately. Like, yeah.
It's fair.
Well, what I was going to say was I am looking forward to seeing if they give a similar sort of treatment to Emperor's Children in Warhammer 40k. I think that would be really interesting and cool. Just like
you want to see Space Marines in stockings.
I mean,
you walked into that one.
It's a design challenge. It's a design challenge.
No one wants
again.
to see
that GW sculptor's like, come on, Josh, you're killing me.
Yeah. Yes. So go over to the website to order your sexual deviants if that's what you want to do this Valentine's Day. So enjoy. We have some other bits and pieces of news to talk about. There's been a Witcher-based tabletop game revealed.
Yeah, and it's not by Cool Mini or Not or Steamforged, which I think is the biggest news.
So, high fives all around.
Yeah.
Like, celebration galore.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna confess I have never played any of the Witcher video games. I've never read the books, and I watched 2 episodes of the TV series and got distracted by something.
What's wrong with you?
Like,
I'm
yeah,
just,
dude, come on.
Just gonna hit it with that.
I watched 2 episodes of this awesome show and I got distracted.
Hey,
by what?
I wasn't saying it was bad.
Has not read the books or played the video game, and like, it's some of the best fantasy literature out there, and some of the best video games. So, yeah.
What can I say? I'm an awful person.
Yeah,
he calls himself a nerd, and he's just
this
not.
guy's a bigger deviant than all the Slaanesh stuff we just spoke about.
It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing, really.
So the point that I was going to make to encourage reasonable discussion is it is obviously a beloved franchise.
Obviously,
but, I wanted to gauge what your experiences with it were.
Tell us about how much you beloved it, Josh. This beloved franchise. his face.
It's like he tries to be pissed and then just starts giggling.
15 minutes. That's how long it took for you two to break my spirit this week. 15 minutes.
Can we have an air horn at this point?
I'll throw the air horn in.
So I think the Witcher is great for this kind of stuff, and I'm quite surprised it's taken this long for something like this to come out.
I think
I'm glad
there
that
is
it's
an
come out.
RPG, isn't there, though, Tom?
Yeah, but it's not had a lot of support
Yeah.
at this point in time. I think it's still fairly early days, and I'm always a bit wary with there are certain licenses that I don't really feel lend themselves that well to an RPG, and Witcher's kind of one of them, because realistically, your options are Witcher or not a Witcher. You know, there's a few, obviously there's some sorcery and things in the setting as well. But you don't have as wide a breadth. You know, there's not a lot of it's not like you can use different fantasy races to the same extent because they don't run in the same circles, with the odd exception. So it's just there's not quite as much material, and it's one of those games that you're going to sit down and everyone's going to be like, I want to be a Witcher because we're playing the Witcher RPG. But I think this is really good. And I'm hoping it's going to be quite good as well when it actually comes out. It's interesting that they've gone for a pre sort of canon setting, haven't they? Where it's before the...
I think so. It's
called Witcher Old World, so it's before Geralt and...
Yeah, because the whole thing about the time period when we're in the Witcher, and I think what makes it such an interesting story is that you've got the sort of rural landscape like Valen, where it's these peasants living out in the woods, and it's all very much entrenched in fairy tales and folklore. But then you've got basically the world of our 1500s sort of starting to swallow all that up. So I think going back to an older time period, it's probably going to be a bit more fantastical, because in Geralt's world, you've almost got these two parallel worlds, and one of them's being squished by...
Yeah, because in his period, correct me if I'm wrong on this, because you're probably a bit more up on the lore than I am, there's not many witches left either, is there?
No, yeah, they're a dying breed. Same with the sorceresses and all that. And then even one of the interesting things is that the Scoia'tael, the dwarfs and the elves, have all been forced to band together to try and stay alive, because they're losing all of their... So it's an interesting thing, because parts of the world are so familiar, because even the way the soldiers dress and all that, and the way that the settlements are described, it's pretty much just medieval Europe. So you can almost believe that maybe some of this stuff did exist and it was all kind of wiped, because people are horrible and they will just run roughshod over everything in the name of progress. So it's a great set in The Witcher. It really is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it, and I'm as you said, I'm glad it's not in the hands of Simon or Steamforge Games.
He loves calling it Simon.
Do you remember when we went to UK Games Expo, and I was like, they had their big Simon banner, and I was like, guys, why is there a banner over there that just says Seaman on it? That's cool, Mini or not, Tom? Oh, all right, that seems seems questionable.
It's so weird. I think we've said it before, but it's so weird that basically started as a website where people uploaded their minis and folk rated them.
I know, right?
Yeah. Grew arms and legs, that.
It is... It's got out of hand, guys. It's got well out of hand. And just before we kind of get onto our main topic this week, Ben, we've been sent a game to try out, haven't we?
We have, yeah. I've actually got it here, so we can maybe get like a wee bit of unboxing ASMR on the go.
Let's see.
Oh yeah,
so,
here we go.
So I've been sent a copy
Don't make it creepy, Tom.
You can almost hear the thighs being rubbed.
Aww.
So I've been sent.
I have that sound on recording now, Tom. I just want to point out.
Now who's making it creepy?
So this is a game that's going to be on Kickstarter early March. By a company called the Dark Imp, and it's called Uranus, and you know everyone giggles when you say that, but the developer is actually playing up to this because I got this little postcard in the box, and it says, "Hi Ben, here's Uranus from Ellie."
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, comedian there. Thanks for that, Ellie. But so we haven't met Ellie in the Dark Imp. I think a lot of that is basically to do with the way last year went, right? Because
yes,
we probably would have given that she's based in Englandshire. But the thing that I quite like about the Dark Imp games that I've seen is that she's got this really cool minimalist art style that's consistent throughout all her stuff. So the box for a game, it's like it's a white textured box with the Dark Imp stamped on it, but there's a slip cover, with Uranus, and it's got like a little alien on it, and it's one of these boxes. There's no Fantasy Flight trench in it. It's pretty much the size that it needs to be, and I think for anyone, like if you get to a point where you've got quite a few games, space starts to come at a premium, and when you get these games that keep coming in these massive boxes, it's frankly soul destroying. So it's nice.
Yeah, I don't know what that's like at all. As we look at the shelves behind me and Josh.
But
yeah,
it's I'm really looking forward to finally giving it a go, because this is when I reveal that I was still not managed to play it because lockdown. It is a co-op game, and it's a minimum of 3 players, but each of you takes command of an alien race, and you are, I believe you're racing to get to Uranus because your own planets have ran out of resources. So it's a sort of like you're racing against a doomsday clock type of thing. It's really neat, really colourful game. Looks really neat. I'm showing the book to the other guys so that they can see. And there's quite a few different races to choose from. So we will. And and you get these little dry white markers for your boards.
Always handy.
Yeah. So looking forward to eventually giving that a go.
I like that. I like that it includes stuff like that, because that's something that not all games would include. They kind of expect you to get that yourself.
Your own, yeah.
It's a nice little touch.
Yeah. It is kind of cheap when they don't do that, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, super annoying.
It's like when you get the ones where you've got like a scratch pad and you've got like maybe 5 pages in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, how long is that going to last? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
cool. We'll have a game, I guess.
Yeah. So I'd never heard of the Dark Imp until Ellie reached out to us, but I'm probably going to have a look at some of the other games, because they really impressed with the production quality so far. So that's it's a brief little product review of Uranus by the Dark Imp, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to you more about how it actually plays soon
in a future episode. Yeah,
I like it.
Right, so that pretty much covers off the news this week. So what we thought we'd talk about this week, we were chatting earlier this week about the difference between PDF rulebooks and electronic rulebooks and physical ones, and kind of having a bit of our preference, because I think if you weren't to think about it or try and put it into practice, you'd probably think that digital was the way to go, but that's not always actually the case. as we've found out when we were playing. Well, for me anyway, when I found out when I was playing Age of Sigmar Soulbound and trying to load a 300 odd page PDF while playing this game takes a little while.
Yeah, it's there that it's really kind of come to the foreground with us, and that's where we were kind of talking about it, because obviously we're discussing rebooting that campaign. And I think it's quite interesting that specifically for that one, it's such a big rule book, because 350 pages is a sizable rule book, very nice rule book as well, a lot of color, a lot of detail, a lot of art. But they've not made it. They've not made a light version of it. They've not made a black and white version of it. They've just committed to, there is the book that that's going to print, kind of level quality. And we're having to get through it. And there's been a couple of times we've kind of been talking to each other and we're like, I'm just waiting for this page to load. I'm waiting for the page to load. And this is on like a PC or a tablet or whatever, and it's taking everyone a while. And it's kind of prompted this conversation where we've all kind of got opinions that have similarities, but maybe a few contrasts as well in what we kind of feel about it.
Well, I actually bought the rule book because I think when things do settle down a little bit, I'll probably run a game of it, because I've got a lot of my own ideas for some story beats and things like that. So I got the book, but I was so relieved when it actually arrived, because it meant that I didn't have to use that PDF anymore. And like you're saying, like having the digital book is useful. I think particularly for like your character sheets, just doing like your housekeeping and that. But in terms of actually consulting stuff, it's one of these ones where just going through the physical rule book, it is so much quicker. Even with the search function on the PDF.
Yeah, I think what I find a lot, and I think the kind of stance I take on it is, if I'm running a game or if I'm playing a game, I prefer to have the hardback rulebook for reference. I quite like having a digital copy as well, but I prefer to have the hardback because it is that bit easier. Even when I'm running Star Wars Online, and I have it on my PC, but I prefer to have a physical version of the rulebooks in front of me. That I can refer to, because it's just quicker.
Yeah.
I find half the time, because you get there's that almost tactile. You can look at a book and you kind of know, looking at like the pile. I don't know what the pages from the side. You can see where you kind of look for. Don't roll your eyes at me, Josh. You knew what I meant.
Yeah. But
you get a feel for where you're going to flick.
One of the things that we talked about when we were discussing this during the week, I'm going to use the really pretentious term for it, is the sense memory that you also get from reading through a physical book, right? Because it's when you're just looking at a screen, it is just your eyes that are involved, whereas when you're reading through the book, there's the touch and there's the smell, and there definitely is a link between your ability to memorize things and using multiple senses in the process. Because to the risk of sounding a bit pretentious, like when you're reading off a screen, you're just observing it. You're reading off the screen, whereas when you're reading the book, it's an experience, right?
I think it's engaging more of your senses, isn't it? As you kind of say as well. You've got your touch. There's a smell as well. I mean, books have a smell. There's no denying it. Whether it's new book smell, whether it's musty book smell. There's that sensation to it. I will buy a new book and I will literally put it up to my face and be like,
anyone that says that they don't do that is a liar.
Yeah.
So I just as a complete side, quick show of hands, new book smell or new game smell? What's better?
New book smell.
New book.
100%.
New book. Both of you. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Any day of the week, a ticket or a new game smell. Buy that.
I like the smell of a freshly opened box game. Yeah.
You're weird.
opening up his
Why is that
opening up his
weird?
like Switch
You're
games
sniffing books and you're shaming me for
Oh.
like being in this sniff.
of that cartridge smell.
But I will say, in defense of PDF and electronic books, I read a lot of adventures, and to one, buy them, because more often than not the physical version is going to cost you more, although we'll come back to that. But two, store them as well, especially when a lot of them can be crap.
Yes.
It's a lot more sort of space conscious for me and easy for access, because an adventure is not going to take you as long to read as a proper book. They can be anything from 32, 64, 100 pages. They're great to have on your tablet or whatever, your phone, and read on the train, the bus. Back when we
an adventure being like a single short campaign, right? Like that kind of idea.
like a sort of a 4-night session, something like that. And they're great for digesting in that format, because you don't really need to remember them unless you choose to run them.
Sure.
And then what I'll usually do is, if I'm going to run an adventure, I'll either keep it on my tablet or I'll buy the physical copy of it.
Sure. Yeah, and that kind of goes into like a point I was going to make is it's more for like the mini gaming side of things, where you're going to an event and you know, much easier to take your tablet with you than it is to take the core rule book, and Lord knows these core rule books are big nowadays. But also your individual codex or army book and whatever additional supplements you might be getting rules from as well. So,
can I? I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here. I'm going to posit that for mini gaming, what's preferable to your digital product and your book is reference cards.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And the thing is, usually, certainly like if you're playing like high level tournaments, but for most games, you've probably committed a lot of the rules that that are relevant to your particular army or faction. You've probably committed them to memory, and it's more you're more just checking things for reference if you need to double check something.
And then you're obviously instructed in the rule packs for these things to bring your army books, but that is really more for if your opponent has a question about something. You just go, there you go, pass it to them. But a lot of even like the army wide rules, certainly in Age of Sigmar, I can't really speak for 40k, they actually have some way that you can physically, like you can have some sort of visual aid for them, so it means that both you and your opponent can keep track of that. Like Tzeentch have got the Destiny dice, so you actually physically see a representation of the Tzeentch player's power on the table. Fire Slayers have got the runes, so a lot of the time I've got my reference cards, and if I've burned a rune, I just flip it over. There's similar things in 40k, like Necrons have their protocols that they have printed on cards, and likewise with Space Marines and the various doctrines and all of that. So no, that's fair.
There was an interesting rule back when I used to play Dungeons and Dragons in the 3rd edition, which I think is applicable to wargaming as well, which kind of predates digital media. But back in those days, if you made a character, you could draw from so many books. You could draw from 10 to 20 hardback books, and it could get quite ridiculous. And obviously, if you're going around to your friend's house and they don't have those books, you need to have those books as well. And what was an unwritten rule that not only had I used, but I've heard of other people using it as well, you could only use rules from the books you could carry. So
nice.
Because you had these big bugger hardback books, the sort of A4 sized hardback books, you maybe only carry like 5 or 6 of those reasonably, especially if you were taking anything else. So you would impose, I need to be able to see these rules. So you have to carry, especially because we were little nerds as well, you have to carry 5 hardback books as penance for using that many. So, you'd minimize.
I love the thought of said little nerd actually starting to go to the gym to get jacked. so that he
Gotta
can
use
carry,
10 books!
Yeah.
So he carries busted character about with him.
I was
and
going to
now,
say, like, though, like, could you use an aid? Could you use like a trolley, for example?
I suppose, yeah. I mean, if you really wanted to get bullied on the way to your mate's house, pushing a trolley of D&D books.
So you get battered, carting your wee granny trolley about with all your D&D books in it.
Oh,
But-
the little like tartan trolleys, yeah.
It's interesting because in a way, now obviously we're away from that and we're in the digital age where if you had a character that draws from 20 to 30 different books, the way they've had to kind of mitigate that in organized play communities is in Adventurers League. I don't know if it's still the case, but I know a couple of years ago your character could only utilize 3 source books.
Right.
2 or 3 source books that you couldn't pull from more than that. You had to say, like, I'm using X, Y, and Z, and that's me. Like, I cannot take anything else from that, be it race, class, bonus stuff, spells, whatever it was. And equally, the way that Paizo did it when I did Pathfinder Society was, in order to draw from a book, you had to prove you owned the book. So you had to either have a photo of the book, like in your house, or seriously, right? Or you had to have
the day's paper next to it.
Yep. Or you had to have it had it in your, because Paizo had a digital shop, and you had to have it in your basket type thing, where all your purchases went. And I remember I was at a convention with Ewan, and Ewan said, "Oh, I'll use this thing," and I was like, "You can't use that." And he's like, "Why not?" I went, "Because that's from this really obscure adventure path book that I know you don't have." And we stopped mid game, and he gets his phone out and goes onto the Paizo website and buys it in front of me. Now I own it, kind of thing.
I like the mental image of people keeping photos of their various supplements in their wallet, much like how most people keep
kids.
photographs of their kids.
There's my advanced player's guide.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Oh,
He's a bit older now.
yeah. He's 5 now.
He's really coming on. He's not legal in this edition. I think what I quite do like as well about PDFs is I'm quite meticulous about my physical books. I get really, if you ever damage them, I will get that really kind of just tense up and look quite freaked out.
Abed in Community, just
pretty
screaming.
much exactly that, yeah. Whereas if with a PDF, obviously it's a lot harder for that to be the situation. It's going to corrupt, so you can re-download it, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that is a perk as well.
I'm gonna make, after we finish recording, I'm gonna make you guys watch this YouTube video I watched yesterday, which I found fascinating but gave me incredible anxiety at the same time. And it's a guy who's running a painting studio in Canada, I believe, and he used to be a GW store manager. And over the years, he's accumulated so much stuff that he's got a storage locker full of old Games Workshop stuff, which is fascinating. But he's chosen to store it all loose in cardboard boxes, and I'm just doggy bags, and I'm just going, no, where's the organized? No, why would you do this?
What a savage!
Yeah,
I don't even want to see it. Don't send it to me because it'll just make me really anxious and really angry. I hate. I'm like, why have stuff that has any kind of value, be it physical, material, monetary, emotional, sentimental, call it what you will, right? But not look after it. It just gets me so angry. I remember
Tom's getting angry.
I'd see people come to conventions and chuck down their RPG books and then stick a sticky can of pop down next to it, and I'd be like, "What are you doing?"
It's folk that chuck their models about and then they're like, "Oh, can I have a look at that?" You're like, no, no, you can't.
Don't touch me. Don't touch my stuff. I don't want to be in the same room as you.
Just pull out the Beretta. Get away from me.
Just on the sort of etiquette of can I have a look at that model? Because that's something that guys who play Warhammer or any miniatures game will do all the time. If they want to take a closer look at your paint job, they'll ask you first, right? Because you'd think that's common sense to do.
Yeah, and card gamers don't do this.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah,
you see, when I first started Magic the Gathering, and someone just picked up my card from across the table and like proper read it. I'm like, excuse me, can I help you?
I was exactly the same. Like the first time this happened, like because we both like started in wargaming and then branched out into other games. And the first time I played a card game in a shop and someone did that, I was so shocked that I didn't even respond to it.
Yeah,
because like you just don't do that in wargaming.
The same etiquette goes for dice as well. In everything I've seen, someone just picks up your dice and rolls them, and you'll be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, excuse me.
It's like it's like they've reached to the table and grabbed your junk almost. You're like, "What?"
I'm gonna remember that if I ever want to get under your skin the next time I'm playing against you.
What? Grab my junk?
No.
It would throw me off my game.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, that's a critical hit. Whoa!
I have no one to blame but myself for that one. Like, I have no one to blame.
I mean, like you could, like the police showing up to the game's really going to throw everyone off, right? Like,
Dude, I was really enjoying the game until the cops turned up. There is this sort of we're getting slightly off topic, but yeah, the etiquette I think in these kinds of situations is important, and I think some people just don't realise it.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, and to bring it back around to what we were originally
professionalism.
Yeah, see, I think that ultimately is the that's the big thing in favour of physical books, right? It's the same reason why people still buy like vinyl LPs rather than downloading MP3 players. Like MP3 players, MP3 files. Yeah, I understand the internet and technology.
You just imagine Grandad Josh Carter, download me one of those MP3 players. Go on, son.
He's absolutely smoking tonight, isn't he?
He's on fire.
Oh, it's not been a good night for me. It's not been a good night.
It's been a great night for us.
Yeah, I mean you're slagging yourself, so you're taking the sport out of it a wee bit, but it's still fun.
Right. But yes, it's the same reason why people buy vinyl LPs rather than downloading MP3 files.
Yeah.
Files.
There you go.
Nailed it. There's just something nice about like physically collecting and owning something, right? I don't know. It's why we all kind of enjoy an element of why we enjoy tabletop games rather than just playing video games all the time as well. There's a tactile, physical thing there.
I do wonder if it's a bit of a generational thing, though. I don't think the way we see that is going to necessarily translate to younger generations.
Right.
Because I think because this is going to become more of a norm, digital music and digital, media of all types, I would be surprised if in generations to come, with the exception of maybe the more eccentric or quirky individuals, the hipsters of the future, as it were, if this doesn't
sci-fi hipsters
start to, that's weird. There's a weird image.
Punk 2077.
Yeah. But I think it's going to start to diminish, and I think obviously as society grows and that as well, space is at a premium. So like you're going to start to see people wanting to conserve space.
I'm not sure about it. I mean, I think maybe 10 years ago I would have agreed with you, but I think particularly given how much board games has taken off over the past few years, it's almost like a direct repercussion of the fact that so much stuff has been digitized, because like all of a sudden people want to sit around a table and play up. I mean, like that the whole idea of people playing board games was seen as quite quaint until recently, and now it's this legitimate medium all in its own right. So I think you'll always have that little sort of counterculture element, because we are tactile creatures. We do, we like to experience things.
That's a fair point.
And to compare to vinyl records again, over the last 10 years, sales of vinyl records have been increasing each year, year on year. And, you know, people would have, if you said that to people 20 years ago, you'd have thought, no, that's not possible. Like, that's a dead medium. Like,
it's even things like, you notice, like, pictures of food have changed over, like, the past 10, 20 years. Because it used to be like if you were advertising a burger, it would be like perfect.
Yeah.
And you know, you never got a Big Mac that was perfect. But now when they advertise food, it's kind of rough around the edges. Like they want it to look real, because I think like that's the way the zeitgeist's kind of shifting, as people want something that's real, don't they?
That's a fair point.
Yeah, authenticity, right?
I still have. You've just reminded me. I still have the first vinyl that I ever owned, right?
Yeah.
I ever bought, and it's not cool, right? Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna get it. Whether you want to keep talking,
awesome.
but I'll show you.
My first vinyl is actually quite a cool one, because again, like I grew up during the halcyon days of the CD, so the cassette was phased out like when I was quite little, and it was pretty much all CDs.
Yeah.
You know, throughout my childhood. But I had the BioShock soundtrack. I still have it on a vinyl.
Cool.
Yeah, and I don't care what anyone says. It sounds so much better on a vinyl. It does.
No, it does. It does. It definitely has like a different quality to it when you listen to something on vinyl.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
I'm going to put it on camera and get your live reactions. This is Tom's
Bobby.
first vinyl.
Oh.
Pinocchio.
Walt Disney's Pinocchio.
Were you?
I'm not even sure what to make of that.
That's awesome. It's like so it's got the 4 songs from the Disney's Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Which
so
are
so you've got
So I was just going to say, Jiminy Cricket, when you wish upon a store.
Yep, when you push upon a store, yep, that popular commercial classic.
You're from Ayrshire there, Josh. And so you've got
I'm having a total
when you wish
brain fart
upon a
today,
star,
guys.
give a little whistle.
Yep.
He sings that.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got An Actor's Life for Me.
Hi diddle dee. Yep.
Yeah, and then you've got
was that an open parenthesis hi diddly dee close parenthesis?
No, the
job?
song is actually called Hi diddly dee.
Hi diddly dee. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that, but that's they're singing about how great it is being an actor.
Lies.
And then the other one is I've Got No Strings, isn't it?
Spot on. Yep. Bang on.
Yeah, there we go.
Called him.
10 points to Benidorm.
To Team Notorious BWP.
Yeah, I should have acknowledged that earlier on the recording. Ben has named himself on our Squadcast system Notorious BWP.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I can't remember what my first record was. It was, I think I got given a bunch all at once. I got given a bunch of second-hand ones. I know one of them was Simon and Garfunkel, Bridge Over Troubled Water, which is a great.
That's way more embarrassing than Tom's Pinocchio one, for sure.
Whoa! None of you like Simon and Garfunkel?
Yeah, because none of us are over 50 here. So
just like the image of like 6-year-old Josh, he's got his Walkman on. He's like,
"This is my jam." Yeah.
You guys are crazy. Your guys mental. Like Simon and Garfunkel's awesome. There we go.
Were you born at 55 or something? You got Benjamin Button disease.
I forgot that film existed.
Oh man.
Right, so yeah, there's our little aside about vinyl records. There we go. So, are we closing on that? Is that how we're gonna end this?
I think we need to, for the sake of the listeners.
Well, guys, thank you very much for listening as always, and until next time, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
You're going to sing us out with a bit of Simon Garfunkel.
I love it.
All around me are familiar places. That's not Simon and Garfunkel.
I was going to say.
Drop a bit like Simon and Garfunkel Mad World.